Join me in a challenge of discovery, first time making these Pasteis de Nata or Portuguese Egg Tarts. If you have any experience making these, I would love to hear about them in the comment section below. With the right ingredients and mastering the techniques, you too will become a star at making these. So let's get started with this recipe. Authentically, the crust is made with a homemade dough, but I'm making these using puff pastry as an easier alternative. I purchased 1 kg of puff pastry, but for this recipe, I'm only going to use 500 grams and freeze the other half for later use. Still preparing it with the 1 kg dough though. Start by halving the dough as shown and then attach them both together. Doesn't really matter if they overlap. Brush the top with some melted unsalted butter. Then tightly roll the dough into a Swiss roll as shown. Cut the dough in half so you now have 2 500-gram pastry rolls. And look at those layers. Place this in plastic and freeze. Remember, I'm only going to use one of these. Freeze the one you're going to use for 1 hour only. While the dough is freezing, to a bowl add 3 tablespoons of corn flour and 100 ml of full cream milk. Mix this until the corn flour is completely dissolved and leave aside. Taking 6 eggs, separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. Don't waste the egg whites, you can always use it for another recipe, so store them in the refrigerator. Before starting with the custard mix, it's also a good idea to keep an ice bath ready. This is to immediately stop the cooking process of the custard mix. To make the custard mix, use a double boiler. Place some water to boil in the bottom pot. I'm using a double pot instead, 1 big pot and a smaller pot on the top. To the top pot, add 300 ml of full cream milk. Then add 150 ml of sugar. And give this a whisk until the sugar has completely dissolved, but the milk is not steaming or boiling. Then add 150 ml of heavy cream. And quickly whisk this again. Add in the 6 egg yolks that we separated earlier. And whisk until well combined. Immediately after adding the eggs, add in the corn flour mix that we made earlier. Whisk quickly, making sure that the milk doesn't boil and the eggs are not cooking by getting lumpy. Remove the mixture as soon as it starts to thicken. Transfer into a bowl and over some ice or an ice bath to stop the cooking process. Add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla essence and mix. Look at that consistency. Remove the dough from the freezer and coat each muffin cup in a muffin tray with a substantial amount of melted unsalted butter. Then cut 1 centimeter thick a piece of dough and place into each muffin cup as shown. Repeat the process until all the cups have been covered. Taking the custard mix, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon into each muffin liner. The technique of baking is crucial for a successful tart. Bake first in a 200 degrees Celsius preheated oven. Then remove, lower the heat for a minute to 180 degrees Celsius and place back into the oven for 20 minutes. Lastly, remove, turn oven to a 200 degrees Celsius and bake for 10 minutes in the topmost rack. This will give the top the burnt patches. We ate these with apricot jam in Lisbon that gave it a shiny top. But I was told the only way to have these is to sprinkle some cinnamon and icing sugar at the top. So what did you think about my first attempt? Until the next vlog, happy baking and thanks for watching.